Hello, this is Steve Ramona, your host for Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I want to thank our sponsors, Infone, and with Infone, you can place your business on everybody's cell phone, turn their business into a web app, and with a click of a button, they'll have access to you 24/7. And also Pantheon.fm. Have you ever thought about monetizing and taking your podcast to the next level? Well, Pantheon can do that. Let us show you how. Reach out to Steve Ramona, the host, at infone.co/SR1, and I will go over with you how you can make your podcast really stand out. Let's enjoy the show. Thanks again, everybody. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. This is your host, Steve Ramona, and this is going to be an impactful show. This is going to inspire you, motivate you, and I think educate you, because this guest has been through a lot in his life. You think when you get a no for a sale that your life is over. Never think that, because when you listen to my guest, you'll think, oh, God, thank God I got a no today. Hey, Scott, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Steve. Great to be with you today.
Obviously, you're in a wheelchair. You're quadriplegic.
Yep.
It's obvious, and I just wanted to say that. But let's talk about the story from the beginning.
Sure. I've been fully paralyzed from the neck down for about 14 years now, as of July 3rd, 2009. And I was working out in the corporate world, the real world, as some like to say, and was married to my best friend, and for all intents and purposes, living the life I'd always imagined, always wanted. Uh, Somewhat high stress, type A type personality, but just, going after it, seizing opportunity after opportunity. And it was July 4th weekend up at my in-laws' cottage. Went to dive off a pier, a place I was very familiar with. Dove in the water and immediately slammed into the lake bed, and broke my neck. And I knew right away what had happened. I knew this was different than anything else had ever experienced. And I laid there floating in the water. I was by myself. The rest of the family was up the hill a ways by the house. And I just remember, after going through all the different emotions I had, the guilt, the fear, the sadness, the uncertainty, finally just making a decision. I said a few prayers and opened my mouth, swallowed some water, and drowned myself. And woke up in a hospital bed, and not in good shape. Told by the doctors, basically, I was on breathing machines. I had more tubes than you could care to count popping out of my body from all different areas, wires, machines beeping, keeping me alive. And doctors telling me, hey, Scott, you broke your neck. It's pretty bad. You're never going to walk again. You're not going to move again. Most likely, you're never going to breathe on your own again, be able to eat or swallow, and may not be able to spend long periods of time out of bed. In fact, your life from this point forward will be just being about trying to remain as comfortable as possible and doing what you can to get through the day. And I didn't even get the proverbial 1% chance, of walking again. I got a, for all intents and purposes, some might say, a death sentence handed to me, the way that the doctors had described it. And they were pretty blunt. And after they had gone through this litany of things I'll never do, doctor said to me, okay, Scott, now I have a question to ask you. Do you want to live or die? And because I was in Michigan on a ventilator, their rules allow me to, if I was of sane mind, I'm given the opportunity to come off the ventilator and expire if I'd like to. And the doctor, he didn't even ask me if I wanted to die. He just said, do you want to live? And up until that point, being in that hospital bed for those couple days and not knowing what was going on, I mean, I was praying for death. I was really saying, hey, God, this is not the life I want to live. Stuck in a wheelchair, unable to move, can't hug the people I love, can't get out there and go to those sales meetings and travel and experience things the way I want to experience them. I don't want to live. But at that moment in time, when I was asked and given that choice by that doctor, something inside of me, just to this day, I believe it was the Holy Spirit and God talking to me, and something just saying, "Hey, we're not done with you. Where there's some things on your horizon, Scott. So let's not just pack it in just yet." And with as much strength as I could utter, I whispered, "Yes, I want to live." And that was, you'd think that was the hard part. That was the easy part. After that, just as I slowly started to heal, but also realized the shape I was in, a lot of challenges, a lot of adversity over the next several months, and for all, you know, for the most part, I guess for the next several years, it became a grind. So just by accepting the fact that I wanted to live and try this out and try to persevere, didn't make it easy. I still had to put the work in, and there was quite a bit of it. But you fast forward, it's 14 years later. Obviously, I'm breathing on my own. I'm in a chair, um, not walking around, but I think I'm doing a lot more. I've had a lot more powerful gains, if you will, that I think that I've received, um, besides being able to regain movement. So I'm happy I'm here. I'm happy with my life. I'm thrilled to be alive. I don't regret my decision. Sure, there's good days and there's bad days, but the way I see it, I truly believe that I am blessed and thankful for my life, as crazy as that might sound to some others.
I'm so glad you're here too, because I mean, I love you. I love your attitude, and you're a miracle. Would I don't know if that's a word you use, but in
Yeah.
my head, miracle.
No, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So interesting in your story, you have a pivotal moment: expire or not to expire. In this case, live. Which
Yep.
in our lives we have all not to that level. As you're telling the story, I'm getting goosebumps, but people have that all the time. What
They
what prompted you to say, "Yeah, I want to live," making that decision?
um no, and I'm glad you bring that up. And obviously, with not just myself but others, there's the figurative and the literal. Do you want to live? I mean, do you want to live the right way? Do you want to start doing things in your life, as well as literally, do you want to live? Do you want to continue to exist? And in my case, I think that was kind of both. That question, in the way that my mind interpreted it and the way that I received it. And I didn't think about myself at that moment, because up until those days, all I kept thinking about was myself and how I'm in such rough shape. I don't want to continue to live like this. Who's going to want to, be around me? What use am I going to be? But at that moment, when I was asked, the first things I thought of was my family, my closest friends, those around me. And I guess it was a little bit about me and maybe a little bit of selfishness, but I didn't want to say goodbye to them. I didn't want them to have to say goodbye to me. I just felt that, we weren't done with our story and our relationships. So, I think, to answer your question, there was a little bit of that, just wanting to still be with others, and that, that sharing that sense of community that led me to making that decision. As well as, I think part of it was just the way I'd been raised and brought up, and taught to try to focus on the positive, to believe in yourself, to never ever give up, knowing things aren't over even when they seem their worst. So I had been raised with that mindset, and I think somewhere deep down in my, in the fabric of my body, that that played a part as well. But also in that moment, realizing that I still wanted to exist among others, with with those that loved me, and wanted to be in their lives, and not leave them. I think that was a big part of my decision making too.
If you didn't have that community, it would have been easier to say, "I don't want to live."
Absolutely. Not only easier, probably just a no brainer. I think the fact that I was fortunate enough to have people in my life who loved me, to have people in my life that I loved greatly. You don't always appreciate or realize it, 24/7, when you're just going through your day to day. But when you're in a situation where you need those people and they're there for you, and then when you're given a choice of something like I was, it makes it a little bit easier, I think, to I know to want to live and to be around those people.
What a lesson on community.
Yeah,
This
it
needs to be
certainly was.
boxed. I got to do a video for that, because I mean, you can't go any deeper than live or not live with community. Build your business, personal friendships, have the right community. Um, wow.
Yeah, I was
I'm
fortunate, and it's something I
yeah,
try to not take lightly and not just let slip away. It's always in the back of my head. I do realize the magnitude of those moments and the fact that like talking about community, it's happening all the time. You don't have to live and have big moments every day in your life to appreciate how powerful having a network of supporters and people who love you and are there for you really is. So even if it seems like nothing's happening, something's always happening. It's just uh, sometimes down the road when you sit back and you really collect your thoughts and think about it, that's when it really sinks in how powerful community is. And in my case, it saved a life. So
yeah,
it's can't get more
exactly.
powerful than that.
And building relationships is a big part of this. If you didn't build good relationships and treated your community well, they may not have been there for you either, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say, you think about your parents and your family, and yeah, they'd probably be there because to a certain extent, I'm sure they feel they have the obligation, but that, to root you on the way that they do, or to really dig deep, my family and my friends, you can quickly see through the sincerity, or I should say the insincerity, to know what's sincere and what's not when someone's trying to pump you up or kind of give you that pep talk. And I think it says a lot about the character and the quality
Mhm.
of the people I've been blessed to have in my life, that um, I'd like to think I was part of it, that he loved me, obviously, but also that they really they just constantly worked to make sure that I knew that I got the fact that, look, we're not going to leave you. We're here for you. And sure, things might be different. You might be relying on other people a lot more than you thought you'd ever have to, but come on, bring it on. We're here for you. That's what we want to do, and that whole, whether you call it a servant attitude or just the idea of wanting to help, it's still prevalent today. I'm not here right now having this conversation with you if I didn't have these people in my life still honoring that commitment that they um, kind of silently made to me.
And what I love about you, Scott, I've said this twice, but I truly believe this. You're moving forward. Let's talk about the book you wrote.
Sure. I 2009 was my injury. On 2019, on the 10-year anniversary, my memoir was published, which is called Headstrong: How a Broken Neck Strengthened My Spirit. And it was a chance. I wrote it myself. No ghostwriters. It's all my thoughts, my words. It was a chance for me to kind of share my story in two main parts: before and after my injury, which the reason that's a defining moment isn't just because it's before and after, being paralyzed, not being paralyzed, but my life trajectory has really changed, which I'll get into in a minute. So the way I set up the story is, the first half's about my life pretty much from um, childhood up until the day that I got hurt. Includes all my crazy charades as a teenager, as a young adult, my experiences with traveling, different relationships, career. So it really is an in-depth way to get to know me. And I wanted the reader to kind of come along and feel the same thing that those close to me felt, when things did change. So I kind of bear it all. I'm pretty vulnerable in the book. I don't try to um, pull any punches or at the same time prop myself up. The good, the bad, the ugly, it's all there. And then my injury happens, and the second half of the book talks about those immediate, I'll call them, whether you want to call them, the months in a year or so afterwards, that aftermath, just what was going through my mind, just the doubts I had about my ability to overcome this. Unfortunately, part of the deterioration of my relationship with my wife, we ended up separating. That's in there, as well as just physically, mentally, emotionally where I was at, and it wasn't a good place. But along the way, I did find that strength, and I talk about how I found that strength and what that finding that strength propelled me into a direction I never would have probably undertook in my life. I was able to start a foundation entitled Getting Back Up that helps others with spinal cord injuries across the country. I was able to get much more involved in all kinds of advocacy work, from local boards in Northeast Ohio here, where I'm based, to some other organizations nationally that seek to help people faced with adversity and challenges, and kind of serve as not a mentor or a guiding post, but just as a support beam, just to be there for them, to help enrich their sense of community. And these organizations have been just so powerful, not just for for the people we help, but for me. I mean, I really have gotten so much more fulfillment from helping others, I think, than I get by helping myself. And then the book kind of talks about some future plans as well. So it was a great memoir, chance to really get some experiences down, but then more importantly, share it with others, saying, hey, you don't have to break your neck to be dealing with challenges or adversity in your life. We're all going to face it. And just because I've had some pretty serious challenges that I'd like to think I've overcome, doesn't mean I'm immune to the next thunderstorm. I mean, there could always be something right around the corner, but I've kind of learned that we are resilient, and if we believe in ourselves and trust in ourselves, and accept the help of others along the way, that resiliency can really pull you through a lot more than you think. So with the book, with the foundation, with the other organizations I was involved in, that helped springboard into a speaking career that I've enjoyed. I've been very successful with. Chance to get out there to other businesses, schools, companies, nonprofits, share my story, but also just allow me to really enrich my life with a whole new set of relationships, individuals that I never would have met had this not happened. And I think we were talking in the beginning here, you and I, before we went live, and just talking about how, in a way, I find more fulfillment. In fact, I know I find more fulfillment with the work I'm doing today, as opposed to the work I was doing prior to my injury. And like I said, I was in a very successful spot in my career, in my life. Thought I was doing meaningful work, which isn't to say it wasn't meaningful, but it was a different kind of. It was really serving myself, my family, my financial situation, as well as the customer. But where I'm at today is just a far different place, and for me, I'm glad I found this. In hindsight, sure, I wish I didn't have to break my neck, and I'd love to not be paralyzed, but I am. So let's move past that. And the fact that I'm lucky I'm doing as well as I am, and I do have these opportunities. So kind of a long answer about the book there, but
Right.
it's tough for me to not speak out about these other things because they are such a big part of my life and have given me the opportunity to be able to write a book, or to gain more experience that's worth sharing with others.
Well, and you're helping others with your story, which is the powerful, again, you wouldn't want to go through this again, but you did, and you're making the best of it. You're always looking at the positive side. And again, God bless you, because people wake up on the wrong side of the bed, go, oh, I got to work today. Well, how about you like to wake up in a wheelchair and can't move anything but your
Yeah.
neck?
Yep.
your head.
Yeah.
And I point that out because I'm going to go hug my wife and tell her I love her because she's my support because of your inspiration. Before I forget, I'm sure some listeners either know people that are paralyzed or are paralyzed themselves. How can they reach out to you and get to you to help them?
Um, two thoughts there. First of all, as far as my foundation, Getting Back Up, it's just gettingbackup.org. And if someone's specifically looking for help on rehab or other products, or they're kind of up against it with insurance, I would encourage them to go that route. If they'd like to reach me personally to discuss just, hey, I want to vent, or just some help with some other adversity I'm dealing with, or just even to follow my blog and learn a little bit more about me, that's scottwfedor.com. They can reach me there, and there's all contact information there. And like I said, if anyone's paralyzed, there's a spinal cord injury, I'm here for you. I have the resources, but you don't have to have a broken neck to be dealing with challenges or other types of strife in your life. And I love connecting with people. I don't consider myself an expert. I certainly don't have a blueprint for how we're all going to overcome adversity, but I can share my stories. I can share what has helped me, and maybe that might, take some solace in the fact that some of those things you might be able to try that help you as well. But one of the organizations I'm involved with, the tagline is, "We help ourselves by helping others," and I really believe there's some truth to that. I've lived it. I get a lot out of, in a selfish way, I get a lot of just strong emotion and good feelings by being able to help others. And it becomes enthusiastic, it becomes contagious, it becomes something that you want to pass on. And once you really do start helping people, you realize just how addictive and how powerful, that way of living, or those acts can be. So I mean that sincerely, and love hearing from people. So and you can find me on any type of social media at Scott W. Fedor if they want to go that route as well. But love hearing from strangers. Don't be shy. I promise to get back to people and enjoy forming new relationships like that.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm going to do something because I'm so moved right now. Is the first four people that reach out to you, Scott, and mention this podcast or my name, I'm going to send them a $20 Amazon gift card.
Oh, great. Great.
Buy your book. I suggest to buy the book with it. I'm going to, or whatever you want to do with it, but please reach out. And I like that you said, paraplegic, paralyzed or not, or if you're a caregiver for them, what a great source you would be. So I want to send those
Yep.
gift cards out.
Shout out to the caregivers.
Yep. Amen. I
Yeah,
told you earlier for the
they,
show, they
yep,
need more credit, and it's tough
absolutely.
work. And I just met yours, and I'm praying for him every day to be there and guide you.
Thank
We're
you.
running out of time here, but I want to know what the future is for Scott Fedor.
Sure. I hope it's more of the same as far as being able to continue to grow my organization, help others, be involved with advocacy work. I really think the more momentum we can get, that'd be great. There's some powerful, powerful projects that Getting Back Up would like to be able to bring to fruition. I think the more support we receive from others, the sooner it'll help with that. So I think that's obviously a big piece of it. Um, for me, it's I have set goals, but also it's continuing to be open, to really live with an open mind. And while I might have a path that I'm on, and some of my own goals and plans for myself in the future, to not be so quick to dismiss other opportunities, or to not be scared to maybe venture down a path I might not feel that I'm equipped to. So I've really tried to make a conscious effort to just be more open to different things that come my way, because you never know, what some of those some of those doors might open. But as far as what I'm doing now, I want to continue to do it. I have a passion for it. I love it. I just want to be able to get bigger and bigger and help more and more people. And it's it's a challenge because it's it involves the help of others with fundraising as well as getting the word out. So you do rely on that community that you build, but so far it's been working well, and I don't see any reason why it can't continue to. I
Uh,
also have a couple more books in me. I will say I
Great.
have some ideas for some other books that I plan on getting out there in the near future.
It's great. I talk to people all the time that delay their books. Here you are, paralyzed. You've got one book out and you're going to do two others. No
I
excuses.
got three out actually.
There you go. So he's
Believe
got
it or
three
not,
out.
yeah, yeah.
I'm going to do something else I've never done on a podcast. Scott, you're really inspiring me. Every single person that reaches out to you, I'm going to donate to your cause.
Oh, well, geez, thank you,
So
Steve.
if you reach out to him
Thank you.
and you don't get the Amazon gift card, I'm still going to donate for every person that gets the Amazon. But anybody that reaches out, you mentioned this podcast, I'm going to help his cause. I've got other options too that I'm going to connect you with to help. But I'm just passionate. You're going to change the world, and I want to be there next to you side by side to do that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, my pleasure.
Like I said, just glad our paths crossed.
Me too.
Just being open to just meeting different people and reaching out to different people. So it's,
We
I'm
should be
glad.
doing.
I appreciate you, your prayers. I'm obviously praying for you as well, and
Amen.
I thank you for the opportunity to reach people in different ways.
Well, thank you for being on. It's motivating. I'm going to share this with a number of people, even some people I know that are paralyzed or have people that are paralyzed. They need to hear this. And you're a blessing. I know you hear it a lot, but you truly are. And it doesn't matter if you're paralyzed or not. It's up in the noggin, which you use all the time. You got a great mindset. And I'm just going to say this: if Scott can have that mindset, then I can have it. It's got to start with me, but anybody else can.
Absolutely.
So, with that being said, what is it? You've given us so much great knowledge to this point, but what's one tip you can leave my audience to help them in your life? You've been through a lot, so
Sure. No, I actually got five of them. I'm only going to give you one. Well, six of them. They're in my book if you want to read the five others. But these are, I call them absolute truths. And the first one I'm going to leave you with, these are absolute truths. You don't have to have it break your neck. You don't have to have gone through the adversity I've gone through for this to be true. It just is true, regardless of where you're at in your life. And this is the first of several of them, but probably one of the more important ones. It all starts with the right attitude. And you really got to let that sink in. Those aren't just words to say. The one thing that I can control with my life is my attitude. There's a lot of other things I can't control, but is there anything more powerful than your attitude? I mean, that can totally set the course for not just a day, a week, year, but a lifetime. And you get a chance every day to wake up and decide what's that attitude you're gonna have. There's gonna be a lot of crap that comes at you that's gonna, you're gonna have to dip and dodge here. That's gonna want to challenge, that attitude and that frame of mind. But it all starts with the right attitude. And if you can get that under control and get that in the proper context it needs to be, whew, powerful thing. There's no telling what else what other kind of momentum you're going to gather. If you want the other ones, buy the book and you can read them in there and you can check those out. So, but no, attitude is certainly something. If I didn't have the attitude I was able to adopt and cultivate, um, I probably wouldn't be doing as well. I know I wouldn't be doing as well as I am today.